Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you another really simple tumbler design that you can create using some white decals from Gracefully Created. This decal sheet that we'll be using is from our latest Gracefully Created Brittany bundle, volume 15. We do these bundles with Gracefully Created once a month. I pick out some decals, some vinyl patterns, and I also create some element sheets, or lay out the designs rather, and send them over to Judy at Gracefully Created. She gets everything printed out and bundled together so beautifully and ready for y'all to grab this ultimate creator bundle. Now, I always try to stay away from super holiday themed patterns because I know that holidays don't last forever, and it's best to have some things that you can use at least for a few seasons or all year round. I very strategically and carefully pick these patterns to coordinate with the element sheets that we have, as well as the decals, to set you up for getting as much out of these bundles as you possibly can with your tumbler or epoxy projects. This bundle has 6 pattern vinyl sheets, 4 decals, and 2 white element sheets. All 6 of these vinyls I really feel can be used all spring, summer, throughout the year, and even into the fall. And then we have some coordinating decals that will match multiple patterns each. All of these decals are printed on white ink with a clear background. So once you put these on any color surface, dark or light, and put epoxy over top of that decal, that border that is clear is going to disappear, and your decal is going to be nice and vibrant, just as our 2 element sheets. This bundle is releasing February 1st at 10 a.m. Central Time at gracefullycreatedccd.com, and you can use code BBB10 to save 10% off of your bundle order. Let's get started making this tumbler. So we are using a 32-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia. This is actually one of their prepped tumblers, so I did not have to spray paint this. We're going to use a white opal glitter mix, and this is perfect. I jump right into adding on my glitter glue from Artistry Epoxy without having to sand and spray paint my tumbler. I used a chip brush since we are using a chunky mix glitter to apply my glitter glue, and it gives me a really nice even coverage and actually gets it thick enough to really grab a hold of those chunky bits of glitter, and none of them are going to fall off once I start applying my epoxy. We are using ROXIE from PDB Creative Studio, which is absolutely beautiful. It speaks for itself. Once I coat my entire tumbler, I'm going to knock off that excess, and then we're going to take our sheet of printer paper and roll that tumbler up so that we can flatten out the glitter and minimize the amount of epoxy layers and sanding we need to get this tumbler smooth. I gave this 2 hours for my glue to dry. I spray sealed it with Rust-Oleum matte clear coat, and then I gave this 2 coats of epoxy, sanding in between those epoxy layers so my tumbler is nice and smooth for my decals. As I mentioned earlier, these decals are printed on white ink, so you could put these over top of a black surface and they're going to show up beautifully. However, you want to make sure that your surface is glossy, so you want to put them down on a smooth epoxied surface because they do have that clear border around them. And if it's put on a dull or sanded surface, once you apply your epoxy, you will be able to see the border around them. So make sure you are putting them on top of a glossy epoxy. These are printed on a removable vinyl, as well as all of the other products from Gracefully Created. I absolutely love that because, as you will see, when I am putting on these peonies, I am also pulling them up and repositioning them multiple times. I can do that as many times as I need to without damaging the decal, as long, of course, as I am careful, because they do stick really well and they're not going to lift up whenever you do apply your epoxy. but they will release much easier than a permanent vinyl so that you can easily reposition without damaging them or affecting the quality of your decals. Since this is a white tumbler, you really will not be able to see any of the fingerprints on the back side of that clear part. However, if you were to be putting this on a darker color tumbler, make sure that you avoid at all cost touching the clear portion of your decal. I try to keep my finger on the back side where the white portion is, so that once I place them on the tumbler, you will not be able to see the fingerprints. So if you're applying these decals on a darker surface other than a simple white tumbler, make sure that you avoid touching those clear portions so your fingerprints do not show. I am going to place a company logo on one side of this tumbler, so you'll see I leave a little bit of a gap to allow for my decal, and I am going to trim around that decal as well so I can put them straight on to my peonies. I will not be showing the process of adding the decal since I have used it in a couple of my other tutorials. But once you add on your decals, there is no need to seal these in. They actually have a matte texture feel to them, so your epoxy is not going to repel or anything like that, and they will not lift from your tumbler in any way. I cut a crazy crooked line whenever I was trying to trim around the bottom, and I totally forgot that I had a vinyl trimmer from Cami Page Boutique. So you'll see here in just a second, I do grab my vinyl trimmer so it helps me cut a straight line around the bottom and the top of my tumbler, and use that to trim off the excess without cutting a crazy crooked line. If you do not have one of these vinyl trimmers from Cami Page Boutique, you absolutely need one. And make sure you get the half spacer as well to help you trim those super close lines to the top and bottom rim of your tumblers and leave just enough of that top showing so you can sand and get a little bit of that exposed stainless at the top. After I have added on my decal, I'm going to go in with my final 2 coats of epoxy. I normally show adding on the first of my 2 final layers in my tutorials. After that first layer dries is when I will go in and make sure that I fine-tune the sanding around the bottom rim and the top rim to expose a little bit of that stainless so I can get a really nice seal around my top rim. This is such a simple design with one glitter and just some decals popped around, but I think it's so elegant and beautiful and simple. If you are making a single color glitter tumbler, try to choose a larger cut or a chunky mix of a single color. That is going to give you lots of extra depth and really set your tumbler off even though it just has one single color. I hope that y'all have enjoyed this tutorial. All materials I have used will be linked in the description below, as well as some discount codes for y'all. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next time.